Welcome to Positivity in Action, the podcast where we explore the power of positive psychology in everyday life and during life's toughest moments. I'm your host, Tracy. I run Truly Listening. And as each week, we are going to dive into inspiring stories of how people have used positive psychology to overcome hardship, build resilience, and create meaningful lives. From self compassion, personal growth, and to strength found in community, we're here to shine a light on positive practices that help us rise above the noise of negativity that's in this world. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast. We are here with Elise, who is going to introduce herself. Can you tell me all about who you are, what you do? Everyone wants to know about you, so spill it.
Hello, good morning. So obviously, great start. So I'm Elise Challis. I'm Elise Challis, and I've got 3 children. I've got Rupert that's 6, I've got Annabelle that's 4, and Olivia that's 3. You know when time flies and you forget their ages. So 6, 4, and 3. I work from home. And the main thing really about me is I love working with people to help them in growing confidence, in feeling that boost of empowerment, just feeling like they're in a really good space in their life, essentially. And that's come in lots and lots of different ways and has changed and moved and pivoted. And across the years, I've done lots of different ways of doing that. So essentially, the umbrella is I love working with people to help them feel happier, more settled in what they're doing, and basically just having some more income coming into their life and feeling like they feel less stressed, more confident, and just happier.
And this is why you're on a positive psychology podcast.
I'm
Because
in the
when I
right
was
place.
finding people, I cannot think of anyone better. You're always just so full of energy and positivity and trying to help everyone around you. So today, I think we discussed this, that you were going to kind of say how you brought positive psychology into your life with your children and just general everyday. Because I think sometimes we forget that it can be used every day, not just to create mindset for workplaces or
Yeah,
so let's see, when can you think of like a turning point that made you kind of want to switch into positivity?
100%. So the person I am today is not who I was, gosh, 15 years ago. So when I left school, I became a social worker. So I was in social services for just around 10 years in frontline child protection. And the person I was when I was doing that is very different to now, because it was a fast-paced, very stressful. You didn't have time for positive psychology. You didn't have time for reflection, your own feelings. You didn't have time for how am I coping with this? How can I cope with it? What's a better way to cope with it? You just were like constantly in this, like I would say, hamster wheel of just going through the motions. And so I didn't really have time for positivity. I just basically was focusing on what I was doing. And there's always been that underlying platform, I suppose, of wanting to help people. And I knew I was in the right place helping people. That was my main focus and my main, okay, we're helping people, but it wasn't actually helping me. And I think at around 10 years, I had really been through the mill. I'd had some horrendous situations with work, and I never really dealt with any of that. I was just, again, keep going. And I had my son just towards the end of my social work career. And when he was about 4 months old, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was only 33 at the time. And I remember having this newborn baby, and me and my sister are like best friends, having this newborn baby and navigating being a new mum, which, let's be honest, is just,
That's all on its own accord of just
roller coaster. Yeah. All of a sudden you're a completely different person. You're having to look after this baby, and learning all of these things. Your sleepless nights, am I feeding them enough? Am I, all of this panic. And then my sister had her diagnosis, and she moved in with me and my husband at the time, and I became her carer for all her treatment, and she was very unwell during her treatment and all of that kind of stuff, and navigating having a newborn baby. So that separation, going to treatment with her, I was breastfeeding. I mean, all of that time was just really difficult. And I remember thinking to myself, there's absolutely no way I can go back to social work. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
there isn't any left of me to
Talk
go
about
back to
taking a
social
breath.
work.
That must have been absolute chaos.
It was pure chaos. And, you know, my husband and I were looking back on this time the other day, actually, with on our 7-year anniversary, and we were like, oh my goodness, that time was just so difficult, but at the same time beautiful, because we had this newborn baby and we wanted to enjoy all of those moments. But also really difficult because I was having to take myself away from those newborn beautiful moments with my baby, to go and look at and care for my sister during chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and taking her to all the appointments. And she, you know, had neutropenia, and she was in hospital, and very, very unwell time for her. So it was a real pulling of my brain. And you know, we got through all of that, and I was like, oh, there's no way I can go back to social work. There's nothing left of me to go back to social work. And I remember sitting in chemotherapy with her one day, and I said, I'm not going back to social work. I'm going to work for myself, helping people. And she was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, no idea. Absolutely no idea. I was like, so I set up an Instagram page, or whatever you call it on Instagram. And I just started putting in like quotes, pictures, sharing about my life, that kind of thing. And there was no business involved. There was no business idea, nothing. I was just sharing, and I guess enjoying connecting with people about day-to-day stuff. You know, if I saw a really lovely quote, loved sharing it, loved that feeling of sharing it, and loved other people receiving that quote and getting something from it, I guess. And that carried on for probably a year of just me randomly posting and sharing and connecting with people. And it then started to really dawn on me that I can help people in other ways. It doesn't have to just be social work. You know, you can help people just by being happy. You can help people by directing them towards something else. You can
Yeah.
help them by linking up with other people. And that was a real turning point for me, where I was like, I don't have to be in this fast-paced, stressful job to be able to fulfill the part of me that wants to help people. And it really taught me that actually I can be the person I want to be without having to be stressed, without having to be, you know, fearful in my job, because social work was quite sort of dangerous at times for some of the situations I had. And that was a real pivotal moment where I was like, okay, I can be that soft and fluffy person that I used to be before social work, and
Yeah.
still help people and integrate all of my own personality into what I'm doing. And that's really when the real me came out, because I was then able to be laid back, relaxed, stress-free, happy, energetic. I wasn't like constantly, I was always exhausted when I was social working. I was absolutely shattered. I was literally, you know, I could do sort of 7:30 at 8 in the morning until midnight, and then still be back in the office for 7:30. And so like I was just on this constant wheel, whereas now I'm able to be more relaxed, and I'm more me. I wake up me. It's, you know, everything is a lot more energetically balanced, shall we say. And so that was really my turning point, I guess, for just stepping into who I was, and like really sort of embracing how I want to live my life. And a lot of that positivity and happiness was then able to come in as well. So I guess it was, I had to go through a really difficult time, to really be able to then come out of it and step into who I wanted to be moving forward, you know, especially having at that point just one child, and sort of carving out and creating, I guess, the type of life I wanted to live, which wasn't constant negativity, constant worry, concern, exhaustion, stress, because that was, I guess, when you're in that situation, it's really difficult to really express positivity, and
Yeah.
because you're kind of just in a bit of a rat race.
You're
And
stuck in
so
survival mode.
you are
It is this
100%.
complete utter circle of just trying to get through day to day and, you know,
100%.
keep going and
Yeah.
being exhausted, let alone having time to really explore what's best for you. You're too busy trying to just grab hold of everything.
Yeah, and I think when you're in that fight or flight situation, and I spent a lot of time in fight or flight situation with social working, and, you know, you kind of don't have time, or you don't really want to sit and reflect or put a positive spin on things, because you're just constantly go, 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 go. And if you stop and have that time to reflect, then often, that's when you're then you feel unwell, or people will
Yeah.
often say if they have annual leave from their holiday, or annual leave, sorry, from their job, that they then all of a sudden become unwell, because they're in
Yeah.
this sort of fight or flight situation, and they finally take a breath and pause, and then the body's like complete overwhelm of emotion, because you're all of a sudden allowing those emotions to come to the surface. And so I think for me, being able to come out of that and really just stop and pause, and I was focusing on family. I was focusing on what's really truly important in life. And family is hugely important, and health is hugely important, and time freedom became hugely important, because for me, I needed to, if something was going to take me away from looking after my sister or being a new mum, it had to be really important, because
Yeah.
they were two hugely important things in my life. And so I think once you really have a chance to stop and reflect on what's important to you, it allows
Mm.
you to sort of step into who you really are and what your values are, and what you're passionate about. And it gives you that time to step out of fight or flight and go, okay, what do I actually want from my life? How do I actually want to feel every day? What sort of
Mm.
people do I want to be around? What's important to me? What are my values? What are my passions? I think stepping out of that was hugely important. If I'd have gone back into social work, I mean, I wouldn't be sat here. I wouldn't be high energy. I wouldn't be excited all the time. I would just be
Yeah.
exhausted. I loved my job, but it didn't love me after 10
I
years. And
think
so I think recognizing
sometimes
that.
yeah, sorry. Sorry, it's jumping a bit in the sound, so that's why we're
Oh,
overlapping on
sorry.
this, I think. I think signal's dropping somewhere. Um, but yeah, I can hear how you like value, being kind to people, and you have the strength of being able to help people. And it's sad that the kind of jobs take that away. It's sad that we don't have time when we're on in employment to really look at our own mental health. And I'm hoping that's changing. I'm like a big
Yeah.
kind of supporter of changing that. It's just because you're doing a really amazing job shouldn't mean you have to sacrifice everything you are. It should be about utilizing those things within that job and not just completely exhausting you.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think now, being able to learn the skills, and like I've got a little toolbox that I have, that when things do happen in life, which they do, you're able to then access those tools and have time to access them, and embrace them or activate them, or however people want to think of it. Because I think when you are in a bit of a real rabbit, let's call it a hamster, when you are in a hamster wheel, um you just don't have time to access those things. And I think
Mm.
even if it's not a fast paced or stressful job, people get in a rut, and they don't have that time to just stop and reflect and think about what it is that they might want for themselves. And
Mm.
even now, sometimes when things go on in life, I have to really take a breath and pause
Yeah.
and think, okay, are you looking after yourself? Are you stuck in a cycle of stress? Do you need to
Mm.
take some time away? Do you need to pause? And I think those are things that I've really learned and have been so important especially over the last maybe 5 years, to really make sure are a part of my day-to-day life.
Yeah. I think once you start getting used to having that level of well-being, you kind of don't want to lose it, do you? You want
Mm,
to find ways to fit it in your life, even if you did go back to a corporate job or a social job. I think yes, it is really hard to fit in. I've been there, I've done that, I've worked 12-hour shifts. I hear you. But I think there are ways we can fit it in when we're so confident in knowing ourselves and our strengths and how our mental health can be taken care of. We can start to squeeze it in, even in those corporate jobs.
yeah,
Although it is about finding the ways that work in those really short spaces of time.
yeah,
So small things like self-compassion can be done you don't need to be anywhere. It can be done everywhere continuously. And it's a really powerful thing. And I think sometimes we can make things have to be bigger than they are. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
So like gratitude, people are always like, I must write down this. No, just focus on it. Take
Yeah.
the time to focus.
Yeah.
It can be done
100%.
anywhere.
And gratitude was something that I started doing all before I went to bed. So every night when I got into bed, I would, because I often didn't have time, not time, but I often would have a child in bed with me
Yeah.
or something, and putting on a meditation or something was not okay because I didn't want to wake the child up. And so I would just lay in bed and just think in my mind, what am I grateful for today? And I would just literally be listing off. And there were days when it had been a bad day, and I would focus on, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for our health. I'm grateful for a home. And just sometimes focusing on those things just helps to reground you. And I'm a big believer as well, is when you're grateful for things and you put it out there and you're thankful that more will come your way. And for me, it was just, I would just do it before I'd fall asleep in bed, because
Yeah.
there's no point trying to do it downstairs in the living room because you're distracted by the TV or your partner's there or the children, whereas just before you go to bed, literally just as I'm closing my eyes, that's essentially how I fall asleep, because it makes me go to sleep. It's like my own meditation. Sometimes I even finish saying how grateful I am for things because I've fallen asleep. But it's a good routine to get into. I think sometimes just adding something as simple as that into your day helps to really ground you before you fall asleep as well.
Yeah, I think it probably sets you up for the morning after as well. If you've gone to bed in this state of gratitude and thankfulness and focusing on all the good things, you're definitely more likely to wake up, in that kind of mindset, rather than really in a mindset of worried and, worrying over everything. Personally, I have to get the worry out first. So I have to like journal or something first to get all those thoughts out, and then I can focus on the gratitude. But like you, I do it before bed as well. It just is an easier way to fall asleep sometimes.
Yeah, 100%,
And on
100%.
those hard days, I think I've been thankful for a cup of tea before. I've been thankful for, a cuddle with my dog, or
Yeah.
sometimes it can feel hard to find something. And I remember someone said to me once, if you can't find 5 things, then look for 10, and you'll be amazed how easy it is to find 5
Yeah, I
if you're
love
trying to
that.
find 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
So always aim higher. If you're struggling with something, aim higher,
Yeah.
and
And
it
sometimes it's
becomes
just those
easier.
small things as well. Like, I'm super easily pleased. Like, I am so easily pleased. It's ridiculous. But like you said, like a coffee, like sometimes it's those small things that actually help us through the day. So
Yeah.
like having that coffee or having that 5-10 minutes to sit down, or I'm so grateful that today I got to catch up with Emmerdale. Like, those
Yeah.
small things are what help us get through the day sometimes. And so just by being grateful for them, it highlights some of the good things throughout the day that perhaps we would have maybe glossed over or not took advantage of, or not identified, that perhaps are actually big, but they seem quite small or trivial.
Yeah, my cup of tea in the morning is definitely important. I'm telling you, I wouldn't function without it.
Coffee all the time, literally all the time. I love it.
Have you got, obviously, you've already talked about strengths and values and gratitude and having that, space to make time for yourself. Have you got another tip for us before we start shutting down? Because we're running out of time. We could talk all day, I think.
Yeah, so I think the other massive big thing that I've really focused on, and I have to say it's probably only really been a big thing for me over the last maybe 3 years, has been being confident and comfortable within myself. Because I
Yeah.
think before, I was so, maybe when I was being a mum to small, and I feel like I am still a mum to small children, but when you're
So
in
do
that
I.
stage of, yeah, when you're in that stage of just being a mum at the beginning, and it's, or you just feel like you're a partner, or if you don't have children, it's just, or you're just working. And again, this is when I was social working. It was my life. Christmas Eve, I'd be on leave. Someone would call me, Elise, can you come in? I know it's Christmas Eve. I'd be like, yeah, of course, because my work was my life. And I think, you can become a partner and you're just a partner, or you can become a mum and you feel like you're just a mum. And I
Yeah.
think I finally had a bit of a moment, a revelation, I suppose, or moment. Revelation sounds huge, but like a moment where I was like, actually, I'm me, and who am I, and what do I like doing? What do I enjoy doing? What fills my happy cup? What makes me feel less stressed? And when I really worked out that, you know, being around friends, laughing, you know, having those time to myself. I never used to get my nails done, and now I go and get my nails done, not because I want to look pretty with nice nails. It's actually just an hour to myself, almost feeling a bit pampered. I mean, it's not at all pampering, but it's just that for me, it's in my diary. It's something I will go to. It doesn't get moved because it's something for me. And having those things put in place really, again, boosts confidence, boosts self-worth, because you're sort of looking after yourself. And I try and now bring that, you know, down to my children, and will always sort of, you know, say to my kids, be proud of who you are, you know, because you know, you are your biggest your biggest cheerleader. It doesn't matter what people are saying or thinking about you, as long as you're a good person and you're kind, you know, you should be proud of who you are, because
Yeah.
I truly believe when people are in their most powerful position is when they are confident, good self-worth, they're content with their life. And if you're coming from that basis, everything else is much easier. You know, you deal with
Yeah.
stress much better. You know, you wake up feeling better. You're able to think more clearly. And I think you're then able to attract what you want to have in your life and how you want to live your life and what you want to do day to day. When you're feeling like your self-worth is really bad, or your self-confidence is at, you know, on the floor. And I've been in those situations. I've you know, been in a previous relationship where I could have, my self-confidence was so low it could have gone under the door. You know, like I've been in those situations where actually I was really not okay. And so by building up my confidence and being around people that boost your confidence and see your self-worth and make you laugh and feel respected and happy and content is such a huge, powerful thing. And so, you know, with my son and his health issues, when he's struggling with, you know, he's been in a wheelchair and all those kind of things, and we had conversations along the lines of, okay, they may be able to do things that you're not able to do, but you're incredible at other things,
Yeah.
you know. Or one of them said something to me, it doesn't matter, just, you know, tell them that they're being unkind, remember that you're kind, and go and surround yourself with other people, you know. And those are kind of things, I think, it's such a busy world, and it's so easy to get caught up in all of the judgy kind of negativity, disempowering things that happen.
Yeah.
If you are coming from a really confident, and I don't mean like, you know, overconfidence is not okay, but like if you're coming from a really confident place in your heart that you're doing the right thing and that you are happy with what you're doing and that you're following your values and all of those things, I think it just makes everything so much easier and life feels much easier. So when stress does come at you, you're able to deal with the situation, but not
Yeah.
let it impact you too much. And I think that for me has been a big thing, because, you know, with everything that's happened with just over the last 10 years, having to rebound afterwards, it's much easier when you're coming from a place of contentness in the rest of
Yeah.
your life, because you can pull in, you know, pull in the rest of the positives in the rest of your
Yeah.
life, I think is the best way to look at it. So yeah, I think self-confidence and self-worth has been a huge thing that I've really stepped into over the last couple of years, of actually, this is how I want to live my life, this is what I want to do, this is how I help people, you know, realizing that my time is really worth something, and if something's going to take my time, it has to benefit me. And I guess from a business perspective, that's kind of now where I come from, is that if I'm going to help people with anything, it's them feeling confident, it's them feeling
Yeah.
empowered, it's them feeling like their time is worth something. I would never get someone to go out and do something that I wouldn't do, because life is precious and our time is precious.
Yeah.
And I think it just helps it helps bumble along, doesn't it? It helps us to bumble
It
along
does.
the journey of life.
There's, you know, you're right. Resilience is amazingly built when we have a strong community who really support us, and when we have the self-identity and the self-confidence and the self-esteem to really know who we are and stand in that space, is one of those really powerful moments in life that you think you're confident, and then you hit that point, you think, who the hell was that?
Yeah.
That, you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
wasn't me confident, this is me confident.
And I think as
Right, I'm
well,
gonna
we have to realize, sorry, super quick, I just wanted to add, I think we have to realize that life is transient and things happen and we change as people as we go through things. And that's okay. So it's
yeah,
okay to sit one day and reflect and think, actually, what I did yesterday, that doesn't work for me anymore because it makes me feel like this, and this. And I think that's really important to sit and reflect and have those times because we change as people, life changes, our circumstances change, and that's okay, and accept that that's okay, because otherwise we just keep going and we're
yeah.
missing something. So I think sometimes it's okay to just stop and reflect and think, what do I want to do right now? Does that make me feel good? Okay, great, let's do it. Does that
Yeah.
not make me feel good? I'm not going to do that anymore, and that's
Work
okay.
with the you now instead of the you that you were last, you know, yesterday.
Yeah,
Work with who you are
100%.
today.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to spring this question on you because people love it when I
Oh,
do this. Do you
cool.
have any recommendations for podcast, books, or anything you just can't live without that you'd want everyone to know about?
Oh, what a
I know,
question.
I'm sorry.
What a question. Do you know what I absolutely love doing is going into like Spotify or Audibles and just typing in like buzzwords. So what I'm feeling at that stage. So if I feel like I need motivation, if I feel like I need to do some resilience, if I feel like I need some meditation, I use these. That's how I do it, is I use buzzwords in my search engines to pick things
Yeah.
up. And because I think if you're in a state of, I need help with this, that buzzword will then open you up to everything that is there for you.
Oh, that's a
Um,
brilliant tip. I
I,
love that. I
I
didn't know. I
you
didn't
just
think
get
of that.
lost. You can just get lost and it becomes a scroll hole, and then you've lost 2 hours trying to find a podcast or, I mean, I'm connected with so many women in business that have the most amazing podcasts. So I would always say as well, people are welcome to shout me, dropping me a message and say, actually, I'm really struggling with this. And I can point you in directions of people who I know are doing podcasts around those
Yeah.
issues. But I would also say, just, use those buzzwords, pop them in your search engines. And otherwise you're sort of scrolling, aren't you? Like, oh God, what do I want?
Yeah, no, that's a great way to search. I like that. I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you. So thank you for that. It's a great tip. You've been full of them today. Thank you
Oh,
so much for coming on to our podcast and sharing so much inspiring and insightful things. It's been a huge action-packed podcast
thank you for having me.
episode.
Thank you so much.
Everyone out there who's listening, remember that positivity isn't a mindset, it's an actual practice, one that we can use every single day. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, leave a review, all the other things that you're supposed to do in the world that I always forget. And until next time, I will see you soon. Bye.